The summer of 2001 was hot in Phoenix. Ken Williams had been chasing ghosts for years. Al-Qaeda operatives, sleeper cells, the invisible architecture of a plan no one could quite see yet. He was a counter-terrorism agent for the FBI, experienced, methodical, and by July of that year, increasingly afraid. Not the kind of afraid that makes you freeze, the kind that makes you write things down. On July 10, 2001, Williams sent a memo to FBI headquarters in Washington and to the New York field office. It was 4 pages long. It was urgent. It said in plain language that a suspicious number of Middle Eastern men were enrolling in American aviation schools, civil aviation schools, and that some of them had connections to radical Islamic organizations. He recommended a nationwide survey of flight schools. He wanted the FBI to look. He needed someone to listen. Nobody did. That memo sat. It moved through channels the way paper moves through bureaucracies, slowly, sideways, and ultimately nowhere. The people who received it didn't act on it. There was no investigation, no coordinated response, no phone calls to the FAA, to flight schools in Florida, in Minnesota, in New Jersey. The memo that could have pulled on a thread that led to 19 names, 4 planes, and 3,000 lives was filed away. 8 weeks later, the world ended on a Tuesday morning. Here's what makes the Phoenix Memo one of the most haunting documents in American history. It wasn't speculation. Williams wasn't working from paranoia or racial profiling or a vague instinct. He had names. He had observed behavior. He had a man named Zacarias Moussaoui, though not by name, in his peripheral vision. He had watched a subject take a photo of the cockpit of a commercial airliner. He connected dots that, in retrospect, formed a picture so clear it's almost impossible to look at directly. The question that has never fully been answered is not whether the warning existed. It did. The question is who read it, why they didn't act, and whether the system failed or whether the system worked exactly as it was designed to. The FBI in 2001 was an institution built for a different era. Its counterterrorism division and its criminal division barely spoke to each other. Information was siloed. Agents in Phoenix didn't talk to agents in Minneapolis, where just weeks later, flight school instructors would grow so alarmed about a student named Zacarias Moussaoui that they called the FBI themselves. That field office tried to get a warrant to search his laptop. Headquarters said no, not enough evidence, they said. Moussaoui was the 20th hijacker. After the attacks, the 9/11 Commission pulled back the curtain on these failures with a surgical and devastating precision. They found that Williams' memo had been received by at least 4 people at FBI headquarters. They found that none of them escalated it. One supervisor later said she remembered seeing it but didn't think it rose to the level of action. A senior government official received a presidential daily brief on August 6, 2001, 36 days before the attacks, titled, without ambiguity, Bin Laden determined to strike in U.S. It mentioned hijackings. It mentioned Al-Qaeda's desire to attack inside America. The president received that brief at his ranch in Crawford, Texas. He was on vacation. He reportedly told the CIA briefer, "All right, you've covered your ass," and that was that. This is not, in the end, a story about one memo. It is a story about what happens when a government knows something is coming and cannot make itself believe it. It is a story about the gap between intelligence and imagination, between having information and being able to truly picture what that information means. We have built a 9/11 memorial in Lower Manhattan where the towers used to stand, and every year on the anniversary, someone reads 3,000 names out loud, one by one, into the September air. And somewhere in the National Archives, in a folder that has now been declassified and studied and written about in 100 books, there are 4 pages written by a man in Phoenix who saw what was coming. He wrote it down in July. We just didn't read it in time.